Good morning, everybody. Cool. All right. So in last class, we're now in class 9 of, and so really in the middle of Shantideva's book right now. We have our third class, our third course coming up, I think starting in September, I believe. And so we're going to be getting into, after these next two classes, we're going to be getting into a whole discussion on emptiness. So get yourselves ready, but not today, although we will be talking about it a bit today. But we will be going into Shantideva's deep discussion of emptiness. But first, we still have a little bit more to do about meditation. And if you recall in the last class, we were trying to understand. Good morning, Kim. We were trying to understand, why is it that Shantideva is discussing meditation, which is the fifth perfection. And then he kind of takes a left turn and goes off on another discussion about compassion, love and compassion. And there was this question about why, like why, where does that, why does that come up? We're trying to learn how to meditate. And then the big question is, well, let's start talking about caring for other people, but it's caring for other people in a specific kind of way. And does anyone remember why we make that transition? Like, why do we go from, let's sit on the meditation cushion, to, in the meditation chapter, jumps over to love and compassion? I know it's incredibly early for a question. So early. Well, part of it is, yeah, it's getting away from I, me, my. I like that. Getting away from me. That's a good way of putting it, Shanti. I like that. Because what we're trying to do, and this is kind of like, for me, was the biggest, like, mind-blowing moment of studying meditation with Shantideva, is that so saying the words, I am going to meditate. I'm going to do my meditation. It's so, what do we think about that, right? I'm going to do my meditation. Shantideva is like, okay, yes, your body and mind are going to go over there and they're going to sit down. But it's about overcoming, I like what Z said too, overcoming your tendency to only care about yourself, to care about you only. And so I'm going to do my meditation. Shantideva is like, you're already wrong. Oh, but didn't you tell me, Tim, I have to like create a space, tell my family, look, don't bother me during this time, turn off, if you don't have a partner, you can turn off your other partner and say, like, don't bother me for a half an hour, right? Like, can you tell all those people and things, don't bother me? I'm doing my meditation. And then you sit down and all you think about is you, right? Even this statement, I'm going to do my meditation. I mean, it could have other motivations behind it, but understanding that you're not doing it for others. Excuse me, you are doing it for others. But if you're just saying, I'm going to do my meditation, and then you get irritated when people don't give you the time, or you start thinking about only you and you and you and your problems, which we all do, right? I'm I'm guilty of all of those things. We all are. That's what's going to actually push us off the cushion versus staying on the cushion. So he makes this big shift into, oh, I have to think of other people. Let go of only taking care of number one and making others equally number one. Dakshem Nampa. Make them equally number one, not disregarding you, of course, but making them part of who you are. And then Shantideva's like, okay, now we're going to get a whole bunch of different questions. And we have a whole bunch of arguments. Well, how could I really care for other people? How could I really consider other people as I consider myself? Because I can't, we use these different examples. I can't feel the pain of others, right? How can I take on the pain of other people, but then I can't even feel their pain? And somehow he gets us into a place of saying, well, look, how you define you is just a concept. Where the you stops and where the you starts is simply where you define it. Okay, so I could just sit here and be like, well, my definition of me is different today. Kind of. But we're going to talk about that. What is it that why do you stop taking care of you? Excuse me. Why do you stop taking care of others? Where's that boundary for you? Last night I was sitting in the same chair last night, and I was preparing the Lam Rim class. And I heard a cat scream. Okay. And I was like, oh no, something's wrong with my cats. And I looked over there and they're all sleeping on their bed. Right. They're all over there. They're all sleeping. I was like, oh, not my cats. And then I heard the cat scream again. And I was like, oh shit, what if there's a coyote out there trying to eat it? So I got up really quickly and I went out that door over there. I didn't see anything. It was also dark, middle of the night, right? But I came back and I was like, why didn't I do that the first time? Somebody was in trouble, right? This being out here was upset about something. I mean, it could have been a whole bunch of things, right? We have raccoons and we have a species of they're kind of like pigs. They're called javelinas. There's a whole bunch of reasons why that cat was screaming, right? One of which was he was being eaten, and I don't know. But I stopped, right? My concept of me stopped. The people, the beings that I cared about were the beings that were in the walls of this house, right? These walls are mine. And so my girls were sitting over there sleeping like they always do. Not very helpful at night. Just resting, right? Enjoying themselves. And then when something happened to another cat, I looked outside and was like, well, like, oh, my girls are fine. You know, why did I stop at the walls? So think about that for yourself. Like, where is the boundary of what you can do to help people? I mean, could I really have helped that cat? I don't know. Maybe if, I don't know what happened. But I'm curious about why I stopped reacting. And that's what Shantideva says is like we arrive at our limit of who me is. And if we can change that conceptualization, there's no reason why I had to stop at the walls. Right? I could stop at, create an invisible fence around like 3 houses, right? And anything in those 3 houses is mine. That's my responsibility. Then you're like, well, why did I stop there? And you can think about this also as an employee. Let's think about it differently. All right, Alona, I see her. She's the marketing director of ACI, right? She does all things marketing. Anastasia, the 2 of them are right there. Great. They both do most of the marketing for ACI. Yay, congratulations. Thank you. Get people to classes. Rejoice. Where does their job stop? Right? They're both going to say nowhere, Tim, because you make us work all day long and we never have a break. Why do you think I give you ridiculous things? Why do you think I give you like ridiculous conflicts with people or make you work with people that are like that don't even seem like they have anything to do with your job? Why do I not resolve all conflicts? Because your sense of self is, where do you stop? Like, where does marketing stop? Right? And of course, if you go too far, then you piss off someone else too, right? Well, that's my job. You just stepped on my toes. That's my swimming lane. Go get back in your own. Don't tell me what to do. I mean, that's a typical work conflict problem. Or you're like, well, I stepped into your swimming lane because you weren't doing your job. And I need to get this done because I need to do all these 10 other things. And I'm waiting for you. I'm swimming and you're sitting there with your floaties. Right? This is a normal thing. You look at someone else and you're like, I'm doing 10 times more work than you are. And you're just sitting there with your floaties in the sun and I'm swimming. I'm just going to go in your lane, take your stuff, right? Watch what happens to the person who's not doing their job when you try to take their job. What normally happens? Well, there's a lot of different reactions, but normally that person gets angry. That person's like, don't tell me what to do. Oh, I'm working really hard. Oh, are you? you know, these are just, it happens to me all the time. But your concept of you, like what is you and yours? What is me and mine? And what happens when you try to take someone else's concept of me and mine too? Like I, the first angle we were going at was, why do I only stop at the walls, right? Why is my limit here? And then there's the secondary challenge of you taking somebody else, right? That person thinking that you're taking their sense of self. It happens in relationships all the time. Those of you who are in long-term relationships, take this idea to your next fight, your next disagreement. What is my concept of me in this moment, and what's their concept of me? Like, what's their concept of self? You'll probably figure out what the fight is about very quickly, if you care to figure it out. If you just enjoy arguing because you enjoy fighting, good luck. But take that idea, like why, usually, I mean, at least in my world, like usually fights or disagreements between partners have to do with an element of what I think is mine, and somehow my boundary was violated, right? Oh, so Tim, I shouldn't get upset when people violate my boundaries? No, that's not what I said. I'm just trying to get you to understand what you think is yours and what they think is theirs. Because then you can understand why you have a boundary. Why do you create that? Probably for good reason. But you just understand that that boundary that you're creating also in itself is created by you. And what does it mean? What boundaries exclude others? Well, of course. Well, some of them, people can hurt us. And so if people have hurt us in the past, we create walls. We say no. And that's great. And that's wonderful. And it's healthy, right? That's all. That's but sometimes we create boundaries that have nothing to do with the other person because we've been hurt in the past, and that other person is not actually hurting us, but we're responding out of a pattern. And so we create definitions of me sorry, it's weird what happens when you're teaching sometimes. Like I just had an image of a dream I had last night where I was walking through New York with Hector Marcel. Okay. I'm like, what is the connection between what I just said and the dream I had with Hector Marcel last night? I don't know. Sorry, that's why I paused. It's like, there has to be a connection here. Because the point of I'm trying to make is that we define who we are in a kind of artificial way. It's very real for us, but it's not a fixed definition. And then to understand the why you create certain delineations of you and others. And part of that delineation, it's based on an experience of protecting yourself and surviving and being, emotionally regulated. And that's perfect. And that's what we do. And that's what our tendencies are. And it's completely normal. And to understand the process that's happening. Because in what ways are those boundaries expansive and what ways are those boundaries limiting? And so Shanti Deva is saying, well, how, in what ways are we, let's look at the ways that we're limiting ourselves so that we can then expand our understanding of who we are so that we can truly help others. And the first place to start is we already know the value of meditation. We already know, well, we should be meditating. It helps so many aspects of our normal day-to-day life, but also is the platform that you can utilize for realizations of how reality works. How do your seeds work? How do your seeds create the different challenges that you perceive in the world? And then when you're able to have that experience, when you're able to understand in small ways and then in a grand way, like the direct perception of emptiness, then you see directly how it is that you create yourself, your sense of self. Who is part of you and who's not part of you? Shanti asked a question like there's a hurricane in the Caribbean right now. Her sense of self is larger than just her in Florida. She's thinking about all the people on those islands that are getting pummeled by a really randomly strong hurricane in July. Right? It's kind of unprecedented at this time of year. It's too little earlier than normal. So she's thinking beyond the confines of her house right now, and she's thinking about all these people, and it's a terrible storm. So how do we expand our sense of self? And we review in the beginning of this class from last class is how can I treat others equally if I can't even feel their pain? Right? How do I do that? Like, I can see if you watch a bunch of kids at a playground, right? 6-year-olds running around, and it looks like chaos, right? They're screaming, they're doing whatever kids do. And one kid bumps his head on the swing set, right? you or another kid walks by and hits him by accident, right? The arms are flailing around, and then the kid just stops and starts crying. And then watch what the other kids do. Some of them ignore the kid, right? They keep doing what they're doing. Some of them look over and kind of like, oh, that kid's crying. Maybe a couple of the other kids might come over and help, but not that many. Like, not, all the kids don't just stop playing and like go take care of the one who just had his head smashed. Why does one or two of the kids help and the rest of them ignore? You know, I remember one day at work, I was in a meeting in our conference room, and we designed the office to be open spaced, and all the rooms had glass, so you didn't have a place to hide. And so, in honor of not having a place to hide, we put a ping pong table in the middle of the table in the middle of the office. So we would play ping pong in the afternoon, just a game or two. But so I'm sitting in this meeting, and something was like, I felt like something wasn't right, and I looked, and one of our coders, computer or programmers, on the other side of the room was like, I just watched him in slow motion. He passed out and like slumped in his chair and like, just fell over, right? And because he was passed out, his arms didn't stop him. So he hit the ground, and then his head hit the ground too. And it was like, bam. And it was loud. It was like a bowling ball. If you drop a big ball on the ground. And it's concrete. We didn't have any rugs or anything. And I was like, holy shit, right? I jump up and run over to the guy. And I looked, and everyone kind of most people got up and they just were like walking over. And there was like, it was completely like another reality opened up. And I'm looking at all these people, and none of them are responding. It was like this weird meditation I went into. It was like how things move in slow motion sometimes? Like everything slowed down, and I'm like, no one is reacting to help this person. And he's a good friend of mine as well. And I was like, so like, as I'm like watching this and I'm moving towards him, I was like, no one is going to help this guy. Right. And so if then all of a sudden everything sped up again, and I went over and I kind of was like trying to assess what happened, because you don't move someone that's happened to. And I was like giving instructions of people. All right, you call this person, you call this person, you call 911, you call the boss. I want you to call the lawyers, right? Because we have to do all these things, to document what happened. Like, so I'm just giving people jobs to do so they could do something to help. And eventually he kind of woke up, and he was like, "Oh, I'm fine." And I'm like, "What?" And then he was like, he's like, "No, I'm fine." And I said, "No, we're going to the hospital." And he said, "No, I'm fine." And I said, "You just hit your head." And I said, I also have a legal responsibility now to take care of you. And you just hit your head like this. And I said, the hospital was actually right across the street. That was our biggest client. I said, let's go. Like, cancel the 911. It's faster for me to drive the guy because it's a 2-minute drive. So I got him in the car, took him to the hospital. Strangely, he had nothing wrong with him. They didn't find out what happened. He didn't have a concussion. Hard-headed, I guess. But it's those things, right, where who's helping and who's not helping others, right? Why do some of the kids help and then the rest of the kids just stand there, or some of them just ignore? Like, watch what happens when a bunch of, I've seen the what are they, like the nature documentaries, a bunch of zebras, right? And then you see them all standing there like staring while one of their friends is being eaten by a lion, right? They're all just staring at like their friend, right? They're not doing anything. maybe they can't do something, but it's that like humans are the same way. Watch what happens when there's a tragedy. Some people pay attention, some people just stand there, and then a few people help. And so, how do we expand? Shanti Davis says, look, I got some arguments for you to help you at least start to logically open this up. And then eventually it becomes more of a habit for you, which is his way of entering into emptiness, which I love. I love how how the angle that he takes to get people into emptiness. And this is why Shantideva is a master. Okay, so I have a picture for this, I think. I have such a picture for it. I didn't even get there yet. So the big question is, if I can't feel their pain directly, why do I try to help them? And we had talked about the last time about the hand and the foot. Like, why does your hand help your foot? Yes, the other day, we have these things, they call them goat tails. They have nothing to do with goats and they have nothing to do with tails. There's these little like seeds. They're like really tiny and they have spikes on them. They're like super sharp. And I stepped on one. Okay. And it just goes right into your foot, right? It's like, and it hurts. And my cats bring them in on their fur. They're supposed to stick to fur, right? On animals. And then, then animals run around and they fall off. And then that's how that plant makes more plants. But they're incredibly, incredibly sharp. And so it went into my foot. Like I was just walking in the kitchen and it was like, right? It's, it's dark. Don't have glasses on. You're just tired. Walk into it. Why does my hand immediately after I scream, right? Because it hurts, and say words that I shall not repeat, reach down to take this stupid little thing out of my foot. Because the hand and the foot aren't connected at all. The hand is not feeling pain. My foot is feeling pain. Why does the hand reach down and take that out? And you could say, well, yeah, well, it hurts. And so the hand is pulling it out and it stops the pain. Okay. But the hand is not experiencing that pain. And then you say, well, yeah, but it's part of me. Like, this is my body. And Shanti Davis says, that's stupid. Your hand takes care of you, takes care of the foot, but it doesn't feel the pain. So why wouldn't you take care of the little kid on the playground? It's the same thing. You're perceiving a kid over there having pain. Oh, but Tim, I don't feel the pain. Dude. Wow. Your hand didn't feel it either. Your foot felt it. Don't tell me that just because you're not having a perception of that pain, that you can't go help that kid. But Tim, I felt my foot. No, your foot felt it. But there's not a part of me that's not experiencing that pain. Well, that's because you've chosen to define yourself in a way where you don't feel the pain of that other person. That's all. That's all Shantideva is saying. What you define as second proof, my cats. I hear a cat scream. I'm like, oh shit. And I'm like, somebody's in pain. I need to go help. I look over there and they're like, what are you doing? Right? They didn't even react. I'm like, oh, everything's fine. I'm fine. Don't tell me you can't care about someone else's pain, because I almost cared about my cat's pain until I realized they were fine. And then I thought about it. I'm like, oh, someone's that other cat, because I reacted too slowly, it's entirely possible that that other cat was eaten by a coyote and is now dead because I didn't act, because I didn't define me as inclusive of that cat outside. You see? So don't tell me you can't care for something else where you don't feel the pain. If you're a parent, you react to your child's pain all the time and want to remove it. You want it to stop. Most parents do, right? So don't tell me you can't care for someone else's pain. It's just how you define it. And then what's that boundary? Then Shantideva says, here's another argument for you, just in case you need more. He says, why do you care about future you if you can't feel future you's pain? Why do you save money for the future? Why do you put, I don't think he says 401k. Why do you put your money in a retirement account? Oh, because I'm protecting future me. So make sure I have money when I'm old. Oh, that's interesting. Are you experiencing future you? No. How many things do you do in the morning to prevent future pain for yourself? Like, how many things do you do? Just think about it for a second. How many things do you do for yourself to prevent future pain? Like, how many times do you drink a cup of coffee in the morning so you don't have a headache? That person doesn't exist yet. The person that you're saving money for doesn't exist yet. It's a different person. Future you is a completely different you. You see, so what is the difference between doing something for a future you and then doing something to protect somebody else, or avoiding bad deeds for the sake of some other person in their future life or your future life? Future life, not meaning, I mean, it could mean your future life. It also could mean just, 10 years from now. You take care of future you. Getting on the meditation cushion is taking care of future you, right? Because you believe that you're planting good seeds for future you who doesn't exist yet. And you have no idea what future you is going to be like at all. If you live long enough, life is nothing like what you expected it to be. When you're 18, you think life is going to be a certain way. Then you become 20 and you're like, that wasn't what I expected. I couldn't even imagine the life I have 10 years ago. Hopefully it's somewhat better. I hope it is. Feels better. But I was investing in future me. There you go, Shanti. Why do you brush your teeth? Why do you floss your teeth? You know, why do you wear sunscreen? So future you doesn't have a sunburn. Or future you, like if you're in Arizona, future you will get skin cancer. Why do you wear sunglasses in Arizona? Because the sun like destroys your eyes. Okay. So why not give sunglasses to everybody? No different. And that's what Shantideva is saying. Like, where are your limits of help? And that's a great meditation. We're going to do it in just a second. All right. So he's going to keep giving us examples. And the idea of all of these examples is which one resonates for you. If it doesn't resonate for you, it's okay. That's why we're giving 10 different examples, 20 different examples. As a total aside, Sandra, have you decided on the dates for the event in Colombia? What are the dates?
We are working on it, but I think it will be on September, like 6 to 8 or something like that.
Okay, all right. Let me know because they're twisting my arm.
We are waiting for you.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So we're going to be going to Colombia, in South America, sometime in September, and I've been invited. So one of these examples hopefully will come up in your mind next time you're like thinking about yourself. Okay, next time you're only thinking about yourself. So here's another one. He talks about the part, we've already kind of done it, but I just want to go over it again. Like your different parts, like you take care of the different parts of you, right? You take care of your hair, right? Tim gets out of the shower, he's running late, he gets the hair dryer, and he puts some product in maybe. I cut my fingernails, brush my teeth, floss. I put on some sunscreen if I'm going in the sun in the middle of the day, right? I'm taking care of all these parts that I consider me. Maybe I shave, maybe I put on some pants. Usually I do, right? That's for other people, not for me. You see, so thank you for laughing. I appreciated it. All those parts, it's a collection Like those parts I believe are me. And Shantideva says, well, look, I'm trying something. I want to try something new. Look what Zoom does. I know. How's that look? Can you see me and the picture? Okay, it doesn't show me that, but all right. Okay, look, this is when you define an army, right? Here's a whole bunch of, this looks like a Star Wars army, all right? Whole bunch of like people who are together in an army. You have a general, you have some lieutenants, you have your infantry, all your different people, right? And one of the things that is, from what I understand, I've never been part of the armed forces at all, is how they teach everyone to take care of the whole group. Right? Everybody's thinking about everybody else. It's one army. It's one battalion. It's not just individuals taking care of themselves, they're taking care of everybody. So when we think of collections, here's the idea. The word in Tibetan is sok. When we're thinking of collections, like a collection of stuff that is mine. And then the collection of things that are not mine, right? An army is a good collection. Like I'm fighting against another army, right? It's us versus them. I keep getting this image, and it's very relevant in the United States. Like there's a television show. It's called The Simpsons. It's a cartoon that's been on since I've been a kid, and it's very much a political commentary. Well, it's a social political satire on everything. And they have this. I just saw a clip of it where it's two guys standing up on the stage and they're having a presidential debate. Okay. It's very relevant in the United States right now. Two old guys, right? Tweedledee and Tweedledum. That's what we would say. And right. We have two guys, right? Depending on what your political views are, you like one and you don't like the other. Okay. Typically. It's the same in every US election. Like one person versus another person. At least in like France, they do like, they have one election with like 10 people and then they narrow it down to two. And then they, then they have a second vote. Still, but it's still at the end, it's like one against the other. Right? France is doing this right now too. So two guys, old guys talking to each other, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, right? And then all of a sudden, another guy runs up and says, I know who you are, and rips off their masks. And both of them are aliens from other planets. Okay. But they're the same species of alien. And they're like, it doesn't matter who you vote for because we're both the same. Okay. And I was thinking about it this morning because, everyone's calling for the end of the world. Everything's going to end now. It's either choose between, I don't want to get there. The point is that it's everywhere. It's a mess, right? Everyone's just like talking about how terrible the world's going to be, regardless of who wins the election. Okay, fine. If you look at every US election, everyone says the same thing anyway. It's like, let's push repeat, right, Shanti? It's like every election cycle, you just switch out characters. Oh my God, the Democrats are going to ruin it all. Oh my God, the Republicans are going to ruin it all. Well, you know what's ruining it all? The fact that you're deciding that I'm a Democrat and you're a Republican. It's me versus you. That's the problem. This collection of people are good people. This collection of people are bad people. That's what's going on. That's the problem. Well, my people care more about other people than your people. That's still a problem. It's still a problem to say that, even if your people do care about other people more than the other people do. You're still saying we care more about people than you care about people. So you're wrong. You're more self-cherishing than I am. Oh, really? Look how that goes. Look at that pride go. Look at that conceit. I'm less self-cherishing than you are. Whatever. Anyway, but think about it. Collections. What things do you collect as me? And what things do you collect as other? Who do you define are people that are worth taking care of and the people who are not worth taking care of? You know, it's a little, these kind of things do worry me because once a country gets polarized in such a way, if you study history enough, you know what happens. You know, once people stop considering themselves, I don't know. Go read history. You'll understand what I'm talking about. How do you mobilize groups of people to do awful things towards other groups of people? And Shanti Deva's like, it's these are my people and you are those people. How many people died in World War II? You know, everyone likes the United States. We always like to use the example of, oh, well, you know, look how many, you know, how many people were put in concentration camps? How many Jewish people were put in concentration camps? How many gay people were put in concentration camps? The list goes on. And then they seem to forget that the United States dropped 2 nuclear bombs in Japan. Right? It's like, it's cognitive dissonance. Right? It's like we're the heroes. Post World War II, United States, we're the heroes. Okay. We saved the world from destruction. Yeah, by dropping 2 bombs and killing countless people who were just living their life like normal people. You know, but it's how we define ourselves. It's how we're protecting ourselves. And the moment you only protect yourself and don't think about how you're protecting other people is when there's a problem. It's a huge problem. And then, okay, let's get out of the negative side of it. What would happen if what if someone showed up to run for the leadership of your country who is saying things like this? Who are we as a people? What do we stand for? Do we stand for violence? Do we care about others? Those people over there, it doesn't matter. They're over there. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that there's people getting hit by a category 4 hurricane right now. It doesn't matter. And like when you look at these numbers of World War II, thank you, Elena. Like what, 71 million people, 6 million Jewish people? I mean, those are huge numbers of people. And it's a way to, who do you define yourself as you? And where does it stop? And you guys thought we were just talking about cats this morning. You thought we were just talking about my cats. I haven't even mentioned how many people died in Russia during World War II. We haven't even got there yet, right? Think about it. How many people do we define as others, right? And then how do we treat them? How do we treat them? So another example that Shantideva uses to kind of break down our barriers of what we think is me and others is like, just think about your own life. Let's go back to being a baby. Let's go back. Like you came out of your mom, right? And you're kind of a series of moments, right? Baby you, 1-year-old you, 2-year-old you, 5-year-old you, go to school, play in the playground, go to high school, have your first love, have your first kiss, blah, 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 right? All of those things, like steps of who you are, right? A stream of you. You are a stream of moments put together that are you. And then there's a stream afterwards, right? That's like, okay, here's the present moment. And that stream, you just kind of imagine is going to be you. Right? So in a way, you are the sum of all of those things that happened beforehand. Right? You are just those pieces put together. You feel like you are you. Right? You feel like you are someone who has come from birth up to X years old, however you are old today. That's you. Those are the pieces of you. But those are it's just your idea of you strung out over time. You feel like you are you. But if you get to those little pieces, like what are those little pieces? It's like a mala bead. Like this is one of his examples. Okay. I don't know if I like that view. Let's just do this. So you can see the picture. Something like that. All right. So those like those mala beats, they're strung out, and that's how you perceive your life. But do you actually remember every single moment of your life? I wish I remembered a lot of things. Actually, I'm actually very happy that I don't remember a lot of things. But how can you call yourself you if you don't remember all the things that made you you? You just put that string of beads together. That's all, right? You just put them together and you call it you. So that's me, right? But you're not remembering you. It's impossible to remember you. If you remembered you, you would remember the spaces between the times of those moments that you're calling yourself you. And what is that shortest moment of you? Is it 1 second? Is it 1/65th of a second? Is it 1 millionth of a second? Which part of you becomes you in these discrete moments? You're taking care of something that's not even you. And you have to think about it. You have to meditate on it. You're taking care of a being that you think is X years old today. I'm 28. I'm 48. I'm 92. I'm 16. Right? Whatever age you are today. And you're taking care of you that you think is one continuous you. But when you analyze it, it's just moments you've strung together that you're defining as you. And where does you begin and where does you stop? So you have to meditate on that. You're taking care of something that's not even you. So why can't you take care of others? That's the next step. Oh, Tim, but it feels like it. That's right. It does feel like it's you. And that's okay. And that's what it is. But how do you make a you much youer? Like, how do you make others part of you? How do you make you bigger? Excuse me. So there's something wrong here because either you're looking at yourself today as a collection of parts in a single moment. Here's Tim right now, 7:05 a.m. on July 3rd. Collection of all of me's, all of that me right now in a single moment. Or I think of myself as a stream, a collection of different times of Tim. Okay, so I can think of myself as two different types of people. I'm either Tim now, or I'm Tim that includes all of those things. Which one is it? Am I a collection of my parts, or am I, how do I say this differently? Am I one or am I many? That's the argument. Am I one thing or many things? You are the sum of all your parts. Okay. But I'm me. I'm one thing. This is me. And then by doing that analysis in meditation, you'll eventually get to a place where you realize that what you think is you is just an artificial, unreal concept that functions, but can change. And this is where Shantideva is like, I kind of imagine I just cleaned my fireplace yesterday. Like, those sticks, the pokers that you put in the fire. I feel like he's just like, you know, poking you. Be like, do you think you are who you think you are? I have a picture for this. It's a Diet Coke because it has fake sugar in it. Right? It tastes sweet, but it doesn't have sugar in it. Right? There's something fake about it, artificial. Now, I'm not saying go drink a bunch of sugar, but there's this thing where if you can understand that your concept of you is simply how you've defined it based on how you've treated others in the past from your own karma. Thank you. Then you're able to do something different with it. You're able to be somebody different. You're able to be that person who runs outside when the cat screams. Right? You're immediately thinking, how can I help somebody? And let me tell you something, just the intention to help is incredibly powerful, even if you can't help. Like, I'm just this body, right? I can't go help the people in the Caribbean right now. I can't. But if I had a different concept of me and I had different seeds ripening, maybe I could. Maybe I could. And it's not just a thought experiment. And so Shanti Deva gives us this feeling that even the smallest part of somebody else could be perceived as you. Like even a single drop of somebody else's blood would spring you into action. And there's this feeling that, and it's not just a feeling, it's an experience of who you are. Your potential is so much greater than you even can imagine. The walls that you put up around yourself of how you define who you are, it's just your own, it's your own limitation. It's your own karma. It's your own seeds ripening saying, that's me and that's other. And how do we expand that sense of self? That's the big question. How do we go this idea, I'm going to take care of all living beings? Shendun cheer. Semkepani Shendun cheer, right, Janet? I like your haircut. Semkepani Shendun cheer, Yangdrak Sope Janchuk De. Okay. How do you do it for the benefit of others? And you have to understand how reality becomes reality for you, how your seeds create me and other. Your seeds are creating me and other. And your seeds can then create something completely different where you include others in me. And so when we say this the statement, I'm less self-cherishing than you are, right? My political party cares more about people than your political party does, right? Which is a really ridiculous thing to say. Because if you really cared about other people, that opposing political party would be part of you anyway. We're all at the same dinner, folks. We're all eating the same meal. And we're all trying to do the same thing. And then we just think that nobody else is trying to do the same thing we are. And it's selfish as hell. You know, and if you really had this vision of other people, you wouldn't be eating dinner by yourself. In fact, you wouldn't have any kind of pride or conceit about how what a great bodhisattva I am. I do such good deeds for people. Parentheses, I'm not saying don't rejoice in your goodness. I'm not saying don't do coffee meditation. I'm not saying don't be happy that you're a good person and taking care of other people. End parentheses. But what I'm saying is, don't get negative pride about it. Oh, I'm such a good bodhisattva. I plant seeds so much better than you do. Look at all those people over there who aren't serving others. I'm serving others, yes. Guess what? Why do you have to see others who aren't serving others? Mm-hmm. Right. In parentheses, another parentheses, if you want to go see a really fun movie, go see Inside Out 2. It's a great look at how our emotions take control us. It's fun. Yes. Don't be one of those bodhisattvas. You know, because if you truly were seeing the world that way, your desire would want to include them in you and take care of them, because you know how painful and destructive that viewpoint is. You understand how powerfully you're seeing how those people are hurting themselves and how they're hurting others. And nothing ever good comes from that. Don't karma blame other people. You know, how do you serve them? How do you help them? How do you help somebody who's just creating more disasters for themselves? And how does the renunciation arise in you to want to help them stop that disaster? So don't tell me that you can't feel what other people are feeling. Because you actually know for yourself. You know what happens when you behave that way. You know the karmic results of that. And it's nothing good. It's nothing good that comes from that. And then the last thing I want to add to this is that you are part of that too. You're part of that too. How can you care for you? How can you care for the you that doesn't want to care for others? What? How can part of you, observing the part of you that is self-cherishing, care for the self-cherishing part that is destructive? And then your world is totally different. Because then you start seeing all of those things in other people. And you see that their emotions and their difficulties and their lashing out and their anger, where that's coming from. Where does that all come from in them? And this is why Shantideva is, I say, one of my heroes. He takes us deeply into that and then says, relax the walls. Take down those barriers. Take down those barriers in yourself and have compassion for yourself. Because you can't change the seeds that are ripening for you right now. Lifetimes of self-cherishing. That's not your fault. You're not at fault. You're not a bad person. And then to empower yourself to see that in other people too. Let's see here. Who am I going to call on? I would like somebody to read. My normal people are not here. Nice. All right, Janet Chen, you're up. I know you're like, I hate you, Tim. Can you read these two lines? You have to memorize this for your homework, but I think it'd be nice to hear it.
Which two lines?
I'm sorry, these two verses.
Oh, okay. The total amount of happiness that exists in the world has come from wanting to make others happy. The total amount of suffering that exists in the world has come from wanting to make yourself happy. What need is there for many words? The children of the world work for their own sake. The able Buddhas do their labor for the sake of others. Come and see the difference.
Yes. People that are only working for their own sake. Thank you, Janet. People who are only working for their own sake. Are the children of the world. You know, how do you treat a child? You know, in a normal, loving family relationship. Right? You care for them. You help them. You look at them and say, oh, you don't understand. Let me help you. And the able ones work for the happiness of others, right? So working for the happiness of others by looking at yourself. Like there's a very subtle thing I want to just keep reminding us is it's not just looking at other people, like understanding you. Who are you and how does you become you? Caring for you is part of the equation. When you come across children, people who don't understand, how do you support them? How do you support your own inner child too? How about that? Right? Treat your inner child like you would treat any other child. Help their needs, help them get what they need, help others get what they need. Don't put the walls up. If you can't remember that, just think about my cats. I love my cats, but there was a cat outside that needed my help and I ignored it. Okay. Don't forget the cats. And that's why cat videos are amazing. Okay. There's a reason we have cat videos. All right, I'm going to leave it there today. We didn't finish the last homework question. We'll do that next week. Just so you know, next week's class is on Monday because fortunately or unfortunately, depending on whose point of view it is, I'm flying to Taiwan on Wednesday. So I cannot teach in the morning. So we moved the class to Monday, and then the following Wednesday in Barcelona, we will be there live with a whole bunch of people for the review class. So next Monday, same time, 6 a.m. And we do have 6 minutes left. I hope you took my advice last time and wrote down your questions because we have 5 minutes for questions. What kind of questions do you have for me today? I can go take a break. Guys are just not. Are seeds empty too? Yes, seeds have emptiness. I actually was thinking about this yesterday, Veronica. We have this idea, there's no contradiction between a seed producing its result and the seed having emptiness. Like, okay, well, if you tell me that seeds have emptiness, Tim, then does that mean that I can do whatever I want? Because any seed could create any result. Because that's what it feels like. It feels like that. To me, it feels like that sometimes. It's a misunderstanding of emptiness. But the pen could be a chew toy if you had different seeds. And I'm going to leave it right there. Because if you catch what that means, you can take you really far. So Zoom user has asked, sometimes we're not able to care for ourselves in terms of finances. Then how are we supposed to take care of others? Like if I don't, I'm going to rephrase the question. If I'm unable to care for myself, basic needs, how can I be expected to take care of others? It's a good question, because if I don't have the basic things I need, like if my refrigerator is empty and I don't have a house, or I don't have enough money to pay for the things I need to pay for, how am I going to take care of other people? And on one hand, it's very true that the more suffering you have, the more difficult it is to think about other people. It's completely true. Because you're just crazy in the sense of, I need to take care of me because I won't survive. So what I would invite you to think about is what are things that actually take care of other people, and what are things that don't take care of other people? Like, I've been to some places in the world where every single house that I go to, everyone just feeds you. No matter, like, I've been to some very, very, what I would label as, very poor areas of the world, and going into people's houses. And it's not just me because I'm a visitor or a foreigner, but people, when they go to each other's houses, they offer the food that they have. They don't have a lot of things, but they're taking care of each other. Right. And if you really look at the ways that people take care of each other, even the poorest people are taking care of other people and planting good seeds for them to be taken care of. And the way you define poor and the way you define rich, those are, again, concepts. I've met rich people who are the stingiest, kid language, Tim, kid language, the stingiest people I've ever met. They don't give anything. Oh, well, how did they get the money in the first place? That's just a prior seed. And then they don't understand how to keep it. So then they lose it. Right? So it's a deeper understanding of seeds, of how you're helping other people. And it's not about money. Like, you can give money, but you can give lots of things to people. And when you really look at people, how they care for other people, it mostly has nothing to do with money. Fulfilling our needs mainly doesn't have anything to do with money. If money can support you, it's because you have the seeds for it. But you can be completely supported and have zero money too. Logical proof. Okay. It's a deeper thing than that. Cool. Thank you for joining today. ACI Class 8. ACI 11, class 8. I think it was 8, or is it 9? It was class 9. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, translators. Thank you, recorders. Thank you, all of you. Just for shits and giggles, on Saturday morning, we have the last Angel Debates the Devil pre-course, where we're going to watch the 3rd class, and then we're going to have a discussion. We're also going to release the winner of our giveaway on Saturday morning. We had some amazing contestants, and we have a winner who will be flown to Mexico City for, hopefully they can get a visa and do all those things, but we'll find out. We'll find out on Saturday. So I'm leading Saturday's discussion. We'll watch about an hour. I think it's about an hour. And then we'll have a discussion about Devil Debates the Angel. And then we will announce the winner. So thank you all for joining. If you're going to stick around, we'll be back in a half hour for some Lamrim meditation instructions, all about subtle dullness. Stay tuned. And let's say goodbye to everyone. It's wonderful to see you.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Maestro Tim.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias por esta maravillosa clase.
Xin cảm ơn thầy
Thank
rất là
you.
nhiều.
Thank you.
Estuvo increíble. Gracias, Maestro Tim.
Thank you. Please
Thank
stay.
you.
Thank you. Goodbye.